You're listening to the Sound Words STL podcast.
I am joined today by the Quebe sisters just before their show at the Duck Room at Blueberry Hill. First of all, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having us.
All right, and just so all of the listeners can keep everything straight, as well as, I guess, for myself to keep everything straight, if everybody wants to introduce themselves for everybody.
Yeah. Well, I'm Grace. I'm Hulda.
I am Sophia.
All right, and I'm sure that won't be confusing for anybody.
Yeah.
We all sound very similar.
You very much sound like sisters.
Yeah.
I guess that's the first giveaway for anybody who didn't get that from the name of the group, that you are all sisters. But for those who are listening who aren't necessarily familiar with the sound of your group, how would you describe the genre and the style of music that you make?
I would classify us broadly as acoustic swing. Mm-hmm. And the three of us play triple fiddles, and then we have stand-up bass and art shop guitar in our band. So we're an acoustic group, but we play a variety of styles: Western swing, Texas-style fiddling, old country tunes like shuffle music, some Western tunes, and a lot of just straight-ahead swing tunes as well.
And we also do three-part harmony vocals as well, so that's something that's kind of unique as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's certainly a very classic sound to you. It's not necessarily something that if somebody turns on, say, a country radio station in 2017, they're necessarily be accustomed to hearing, but there's a lot of different styles that are there. Who were some of your major influences whenever you were first starting to make music?
I would say the Mills Brothers were our first influence in terms of singing. Of course, triple fiddles, that style was started, or that tradition in Western swing was started by Bob Wills, and he's from Texas and Oklahoma, so that's what we got started. We got started playing fiddle, so that's how we got into playing Western swing and then the other various styles from there. But then the singing, the Mills Brothers were our first inspiration. But we have lots of others.
Yes, we do.
We do, yeah.
And I don't want to give anything away too much for those listening, but the three of you are fairly young, probably a little bit younger than people might expect when they hear some of your influences. Is it a little bit strange, I guess, to play a style of music that's more associated with like pre-rock and roll era when you're obviously...
Honestly, we're influenced by a whole bunch of different generations of music. I mean, American roots music, whether you're talking about East Coast Appalachian fiddling or Texas-style fiddling. Our roots do go way back, and we do love the music history, but of course we're influenced by people that are out today, and so we really draw from a lot of different things. For us, especially when we started singing, I feel like it was kind of this unintentional thing that happened. I don't know if it's because of our Texas accents or what, but we do kind of have a little bit more vintagey kind of sound, but that was never like intentional on our parts. It's just we opened our mouths and that's kind of what came out.
So it's not like you're trying to be
a
quote-unquote retro act. You just want to...
No, not at all, yeah.
In fact, actually, we sort of aspire for the opposite in the sense of we're inspired by a lot of music from, a previous generation, but we want to, keep it relevant and put a new twist on it. And good music is good music, doesn't matter what time period it came from, and also to try to start writing our own songs and things that brings new material into all of the mix of genres that we draw from. So
our favorite artists, I would say, were all innovators within their styles. And I think that's something that we aspire to a lot, is to hopefully inspire other people to be innovators and, of course, keep each other inspired by being creative.
And your last album was called Every Which Away and was released in 2014, and you released 2 albums prior to that. Looking through the years that they were released, it seems like this was really your first album that really came about as you were adults rather than as you're young now, but you were very young at the time of the first couple albums. How different was it? Were you just building off of what you'd done previously, incorporating new influences, or do you think it was just a natural transition of what you had done previously?
It was really basically building off of what we had done. It isn't stylistically a whole lot different from the previous album we'd done, which was Timeless, but it was just new material that we were playing at the time. And I wouldn't say that I feel like our next album is going to be the one that's the most different. I certainly feel like on Every Which Way, we had more adult voices and our vocals were a lot stronger because the first album we hadn't been singing that long. So, making Every Which Way, it was exciting to actually have some, years of vocal chops behind that album. But this time we're excited to kind of expand stylistically.
I guess I already asked this before, but are there any particular influences to your sound that maybe have changed throughout the years? Your first album came out in 2003 and the most recent one came out in 2014. So I know that my musical tastes changed in those 11 years. I'm sure that yours did as well.
I mean, honestly, probably the first person that pops in my head right now that we all currently just stay obsessed with is Willie Nelson. His songwriting, his chord choices, just everything about, his essence, honestly, and the kind of the emotion that he puts into music never ceases to amaze me. And he's the top on my list right now. But that could change in a couple months. I might be obsessed with somebody else, but Willie's always up there.
Yeah.
And sounds like that's a unanimous.
Yeah, we all love Willie. It's just he's incredible. But we have our musical, taste have just broadened exponentially, from what you are introduced to when you're like a kid up until now. We listen to just a huge variety of all kinds of music. And all of that, inspires you. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, well, Willie Nelson makes sense, certainly, based off of your Texas roots, of course, and the fact that he's somebody that stayed relevant for as long as he has, while staying true to himself, but also expanding and trying to go beyond what people would expect from him. And as you mentioned before, there's 3 members, 3 sisters, of course, and you all contribute vocals, you all contribute fiddle playing. How do you organize the 3 of you so that you aren't just overlapping and doing the same thing?
You mean like, but what part we're gonna play or sing, or?
Yeah.
Oh, well, typically, Yohola sings the high parts, and I sing a lot of the leads. But Grace has been singing a lot of leads recently too, and low parts. And we do some experimentation and changing off on harmony parts there. But that's generally the roles everybody part-wise takes. And then, but when we're playing the fiddle, we can play any of the parts, and we like to,
Off each other.
Versus everyone's always fiddling and singing the same exact part, just for diversity.
I'm sure it's more of a focus on making sure the 3 of you are harmonizing your fiddles rather than just trying to one-up each other. Though there's probably some competitive aspect as well.
Yeah.
Where can listeners who may not be familiar with your work, or who are familiar with it and just want to get back into it, where would be the best place for them to find your music?
Yeah, our website is the first place, I would say. We've got our tour schedule and, of course, our albums and all kinds of stuff on there. And our website is quebesisters.com. And Quebe, if you're wondering how to spell that is a good question. It is spelled Quebe. Nothing like it sounds.
I'm glad that it's spelled out just for anybody who...
And of course, our social media too, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. It's just Quebe Sisters. Y'all can check that out.
Keep it simple. All right. They are Grace, Sophia, and Hulda Quebe, and they make up the Quebe Sisters Band. Thank you to all 3 of you for joining us on the Soundwords STL podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Soundwords STL podcast.